Marvin, and I'm here to interview a very popular Syrian refugee in her community, Brooklyn Wakefield. Miss Wakefield is here to educate us on the life of a refugee as well as being a representative of her community. Thanks for being on the show, Miss Wakefield.
Thanks, Miss Marvin.
Please call me McKenna. So, what's in the bag?
Well, I'm glad you asked because when I was in a refugee camp in Jordan, the UNHCR food program provided us with some items that I brought back here.
Matthew, cut closer on this.
So this is a typical meal that the UNHCR would provide us with. We usually got some type of bread, beans, and some rice. We usually never got any type of meat or any other protein because the refugee camp I was in was very overpopulated and the UNHCR couldn't provide a fresh steak for everyone every night.
That doesn't seem like it would fill me up.
Like I said, Sahati, the refugee camp I was at, was very overpopulated. Kids growing up couldn't get the right nutrition needed to grow nice and healthy. Let's take a walk.
All right. So, I've been meaning to ask you, what are all the different ways that you can flee a country, and which way did you flee when you fled Syria?
Well, personally, when I fled Syria, I took a train with my family, but there's also multiple other ways that you can get out of a country. You can walk on foot, you can ride in a vehicle like a truck or a semi or a car, you can ride in a train like that's what I did, or you could ride in a raft or a boat.
And did anybody help you on these journeys?
Well, sometimes you can pay a big price to get smuggled across borders of countries, but like I said, those are really expensive to get a smuggler, but most people think that it's a lot safer rather than going by yourself. Then I want to take you somewhere.
All right, let's go. Why are we at a train station?
Well, I wanted to take you to a train station to show you how these trains are similar to the ones that I took over to Jordan.
And what are we gonna do while we're here?
While we go on a walk by showing you the trains, I'm just gonna educate you about some other refugee facts.
Sounds good. Let's go. So when did the Syrian civil war start?
2011.
Got anything about children that are Syrian refugees?
Well, actually, half of all Syrian refugees are children.
Which country hosts the most refugees in the world?
As of mid-2019, Turkey shelters the most refugees, which is around 3.7 million.
So about how many Syrians are refugees?
About 6.7 million Syrians are refugees. Along with that, there are about 6.2 million Syrians displaced.
Where do Syrians flee to?
Usually they flee to countries such as Turkey, Iraq, Lebanon, and Jordan as their neighboring countries, but other refugees like to flee to Egypt or Greece where there is better opportunity.
Thanks for inviting me over for some coffee. Now, could you tell me more information about Syria and their refugees?
My pleasure. I made a slideshow. In 2011, the spark of the Syrian civil war took place. The spark that started it all was the peaceful protests against Syria's government that resulted in violence from authorities. This event caused the first Syrian families to flee. By 2012, neighboring countries such as Turkey and Jordan
started opening up refugee camps, thinking it'd be more of a temporary home for these refugees, but little did they know it was more of a permanent home for these refugees seeking shelter and other resources. By the end of 2012, 500,000 refugees seek refuge. By 2013, the number of refugees reaches around 2 million. Also, the UNHCR needs more money and other resources to keep up with the increasing amount of refugees. Refugees traveled to Europe to seek better opportunity rather than living in a third world country. Also, many Syrian refugees needed humanitarian aid. World food programs had to cut down their rations due to the increasing amounts of refugees, which is now about 4 million in 2015. Also, this is a picture of a little boy that was washed up on a Turkish beach, which also shocked the world. In 2016, the Battle of Aleppo took place, which caused many refugees to be displaced. Also, the UNHCR provided clothing and blankets and stuff for other refugees who needed help during this harsh winter. In 2017, 900,000 refugees have fled Syria. In all, around 5 million people have fled Syria since the civil wars began. Also, around 60% of Syrian refugees now live in extreme poverty. In 2018, conflicts still occurred despite the agreements to end violence. Around 2.9 million refugees live in areas where humanitarian aid is not supplied regularly.
From what I've gathered, not many Syrians are exposed to the best nutrition. What group mainly provides food to these refugees? And would you consider this a daily problem that occurs for those who live in refugee camps?
I most definitely consider food or any other resources a daily problem for Syrians because they can be difficult to access. The USAID and the UNHCR provide food and water to refugees in certain camps. This is an issue for refugees because they can't access these resources whenever they wish.
Is education accessible for school-age Syrians in refugee camps? If so, what are some problems with providing education for Syrians, and who provides the education?
Some countries offer a second shift schooling program for refugees, and second shift schooling is when teachers stay after hours and teach refugee children when normal schooling is out of session. Most Syrian refugee children can't access schooling even when the community attempts to provide it to them because transportation and language barrier issues. Whenever schooling is provided for Syrian refugees, it most often is provided by the community.
Thanks for being on the show and teaching me about Syrian refugees and Syrian's history as a whole.
Thanks for having me on the show.
I enjoyed learning about your journey, and I have lots of respect for refugees all around the world.
Come back and visit anytime.
Well, I'll see you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.